Welcome back to the Sturry Link Road Project. This week began with crews continuing work on the Cofferdam for Pier 1, installing the remaining sheet piles to complete this stage of construction. With that milestone reached, attention quickly shifted across the site to the next phase of works. North of the railway, the project continued to expand as bulldozers began stripping back the ground for the future haul road. Terram was laid, the first deliveries of aggregate arrived, and by the end of the week hundreds of tons had been placed as the route started to take shape. At Pier 2, works progressed rapidly, with pre-augering completed across the full extent of the Cofferdam footprint, followed by the installation of the sheet piles, bringing the total to around 120 in place by the end of the week. The archaeology phase was completed earlier in the programme, with fencing then relocated to support the next stage of construction further along the route. It was also a week defined by difficult conditions, with persistent heavy rain turning much of the site into challenging ground for both construction activity and filming. From cofferdams and earthworks to haul roads and heavy plant, here's a look at another week of progress on the Sturry Link Road Project. At Pier 1, all 86 sheet piles are now in place, forming the outline of the cofferdam and marking the completion of this phase of works. From there, the focus shifts north of the railway, where bulldozers continue stripping back topsoil and grass, progressively opening up the corridor for the future haul road as earthworks move into the next stage. As mentioned in the previous episode, the haul road runs around 350 metres from the Shallock Road entrance to the northern roundabout. With the cofferdam at Pier 1 now complete, attention quickly moved across to Pier 2. At the start of filming, pre-augering was already underway, following the same process used across the main platform ahead of sheet piling. Pier 1 and Pier 2 cofferdams follow the same general formation, with the south abutment being the element that differs in layout and construction approach. A total of 86 sheet piles are specified for the Pier 2 Cofferdam as this next stage of the works begins to take shape. On Wednesday, a key milestone was reached as the first deliveries of 6F5 material arrived on site. This is a graded crushed stone, ranging from around 75mm down to fines, commonly used as a structural fill layer for road construction and ground build-up. The formation here is based on a 300mm dig across the full width of the haul road, followed by a 450mm stone build-up, forming the engineered layers that will support the finished surface. As the first wagons pulled into what will become the haul road entrance, works moved quickly into action. From above, deliveries can be seen arriving as teams began placing material at the entry point. Despite strong winds across site, the first loads were tipped and immediately worked by excavators, spreading and forming the initial layers. Dozers continued clearing and preparing the line ahead, keeping the area open for further deliveries. This marked the start of continuous material placement, with further lorries arriving and tipping in sequence as the haul road construction gained momentum. North of the railway, aggregate deliveries have continued to build momentum. Since operations began in this section, around 200 tons of material have been arriving on site each day on average, helping to form the new haul road and working areas. As construction progresses and more space becomes available for site traffic and material handling, the rate of deliveries is expected to increase, supporting the next phases of the project. Alongside the earthworks, fencing operations have also continued across the northern section of the site. On either side of what we've been referring to as the Hall Road, crews have been installing post and wire fencing topped with barbed wire, helping to define the working corridor. As that fencing comes to an end, a line of taller posts, standing around 8 to 10 feet high, takes over. From an observational point of view, these appear to pick up the red boundary line shown on the scheme plans, curving around in the shape of the future northern roundabout before following the alignment of the north abutment down towards the railway. With the relief road scheme plan now on screen, it gives a useful perspective on how this section of the site fits into the wider project, helping to put the recent fencing and groundworks into context as construction continues to progress. This is a new area of the site for the series, and one we haven't explored before. The section we're walking through is due to see work begin from Monday, marking another step forward in the project. A long haul road will be constructed along this route, eventually opening out into a large working area. From the drone survey, the route from here down to roughly the centre of the future platform measures around 400 metres in length. In time, this will become a construction platform, providing the access and space needed for the next phases of the viaduct works. According to the scheme plans, this platform will support activity around Piers 3 and 4, creating an operational area for the heavy plant and equipment needed as construction progresses. It will be very interesting to watch this section develop, particularly given the ground conditions here, with the land being notably wet and likely to present its own challenges as works progress. An ecologist is also due on site on Monday to carry out a final check ahead of machinery beginning the initial scarifying and preparation of the area. A new bell mouth is also due to be constructed to form the entrance into this access road, located just before Broad Oak Crossing. At present, marked utilities show a BT pole within the proposed entrance area. While this line was disconnected earlier in the year, further clearance works will still be required here to open up the full width of the access ahead of construction starting. Moving further along this section of the site, there is a clearly marked exclusion area in place, identified by signage warning of nesting birds and a 10-metre buffer zone, with fencing installed around the boundary to protect the area. This follows earlier works carried out just a few days ago, where scarifying and surface stripping took place across the wider area. Despite that activity, this particular zone has been left undisturbed due to the ecological constraints in place. Given the current ground conditions and the scope of works required for the haul road and platform construction, it is likely to be some time before any further excavation or digging takes place in this immediate vicinity. Before we get into this week's low drone footage, just a quick note on filming conditions. It's been a fairly challenging week to capture footage, with strong winds throughout and gusts reaching around 30 to 35 miles per hour at times. As a result, some of the clips may be a little shaky or less stable than usual. Interestingly, the footage you're about to see was taken on one of the calmer looking days of the week, even though the wind was still very much present on site. So apologies in advance for any roughness in the visuals. As the episode draws to a close, low-level drone footage shows Pier 2 from above, with the camera orbiting the cofferdam before dropping down inside the structure to reveal the works in more detail. At this stage, all 86 sheet piles are now in place, forming the perimeter of the cofferdam. This is identical in formation to Pier 1, creating a clearly defined working box within the ground. From within, the structure shows the full extent of the excavation area, with the sheet piles projecting above formation level and enclosing the footprint of the works. It provides a clear final view of the scale of the operation as this phase continues to develop. The drone now moves across a recently scarified section of the site, giving a first look at an area that's set to become a major focus of the project over the coming weeks. Visible in the field are 4 survey stakes, marking the approximate location of the future cofferdam for Pier 4. At the moment it may not look like much, but this area is about to undergo a significant transformation. Following the same general approach used for the central piling platform, this ground will be built up with thousands of tons of imported stone, creating a stable working area to support the next phases of the viaduct construction. From the air, this should be one of the more dramatic changes to watch as the project continues to develop. The shot cuts along the length of the Hall Road, running down towards Shallock Road and the future site entrance. As it approaches the top of the field, spray paint markings can be seen identifying the location of the proposed bellmouth into the site, with a telegraph pole still present within the area that will need to be addressed as part of the clearance. Works and changes across this section of the site are becoming increasingly visible as the project progresses. As the drone travels down the route towards the southern roundabout and then back up towards the south abutment, the footpaths are now clearly defined on both sides of the developing route, marking out the emerging corridor. Drainage installation is due to begin along this section of the route from next week. From an aerial perspective, this should provide another interesting stage of the project to follow, as we'll begin to see the network of drainage infrastructure taking shape beneath what will eventually become the new road. When the route is complete and traffic is passing through in wet weather, these are the systems that will quietly manage surface water in the background, even though most people driving over them will never know they're there. And now, finally, north of the railway, we're travelling up the developing Hall Road towards the future northern roundabout. This route will become a vital artery for the project, carrying the construction traffic, heavy plant, and countless deliveries of materials needed to build the next phases of the scheme from this side of the site. Hundreds of tons of aggregate have already been placed here this week, with thousands more set to follow as the Hall Road and working areas continue to expand. What is currently a developing track will, over the coming months, become one of the key logistical routes for the construction of the viaduct and the wider project. The line of newly installed fencing can be seen following the planning boundary, curving around the future northern roundabout before tracking the alignment of the north abutment towards the railway. Piece by piece, the shape of the project is becoming easier to read, both on the ground and from the air, and with that, we bring episode 15 to a close. Another week has seen new milestones reached, new areas opened up, and the next stages of the project already beginning to take shape. Thank you, as always, for following the journey and for sharing your observations, knowledge and support. I'll be back next week to see what changes the next 7 days bring to the Sturry Link Road Project.